Hi everybody! We're so excited to share with you how we're training for the upcoming HYROX race using the Peloton app. My name's Tayyaba.
And I'm Fatima. And we're two sisters that we're training in the Women's Ottawa Open HYROX coming up in May 2026. We're designing this program for ourselves with 6 months out till training. So we started it like roughly end of December. And then we're preparing up until the event on May 16th.
So my background in sports is that I have been kind of playing sports ever since I was a little kid. Soccer, swimming, gymnastics. But my main sport that I really trained in for most of my life was figure skating. So from the age of 8 all the way until like second year university, I was skating, I was competing, I was on the varsity team. And so the things that I really love are like high intensity, short intervals, jumping, sprinting, those types of things, spins and all that. So that's really where I was coming from before we got into this. In between the years after varsity, but just been mostly weightlifting, a little bit of running here and there, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But my main sports would be weightlifting, a little bit of sprinting through like soccer, things like that.
And for me, my background, like similar to Tayyaba in that like did a lot of team sports. I was always at the recreational level, but soccer had been my main sport. I did do high school varsity. Pretty sure I was on the bench most of the time. And then actually like some of the other things that I started was like much like later in life. So I started volleyball. I was probably 18, 19. And then I started recreational beginner level ice hockey, probably in, I would say 6 years ago, but it's probably been closer to 10 years at this point. I still feel like a beginner though. And around the time I started playing hockey, I also started weightlifting. Actually, Tayyaba was my inspiration. And there was a couple of months, or maybe it was a couple of years actually, that I was fairly consistent. We used to go at lunch. We would go to the gym on our break. Then I was really inconsistent with my gym attendance, but like I always I liked it. One from like a strength perspective, but I always had the mentality of like I was training for hockey. I wanted to get stronger, faster, and like the problem was that because I wasn't very consistent, I did suffer a few injuries, and so I've been trying to find out for some time now like how to stay motivated, and that's what HYROX really like for me like really piques my interest. Like I love the idea of like something in a team dynamic, but like having like a very specific goal in mind, and then being able to design a training program in order to meet that. I think for me, like kind of like that peak of like I had just started hockey, I was going to the gym, having that goal in mind really allowed me to like be my most consistent self and to like kind of like program out some progression and like have a strength-based or performance-based goal that I wanted to have in mind, even if it was just for myself or at the recreational level.
I also think that as an adult in sport, if you don't see yourself, say, going to the Olympics or you're not going to these competitions anymore, sometimes it's hard to have a goal in mind or like motivate yourself for what. Running, it's a little bit more accessible because there's always races, 5K, 10K, half marathon, full marathon, ultra. There's so many different like categories of things you can compete for and look forward to and kind of have a purpose. But when it comes to personally for me, for like weightlifting or plyometrics or all those types of things, it's like there hasn't been in the past something that I've used as a benchmark of something to achieve or something to target. It was more just how strong can I get? How fast can I get? But having the opportunity to do that at something like the HYROX, I feel like really demonstrates how far that effort can take you, and it gives you a more tangible goal.
I think that like what's appealing about the HYROX, and I think why a lot of people are motivated to use that as their fitness goal, is that it combines weights or kind of like more of a strength-based approach with some of the more cardiovascular focused training. I'll say that neither of us particularly enjoy running. I do cycle. And so I think that's where I get a lot of my cardio. I think that there is some transferable cardiovascular elements to it. But I think it really is something that we'll need to have like dedicated, specific, training. I was finding like very quickly I was getting shin splints, and so I wanted to make sure that we're not going to just like fizzle out on the run, which is like a really big part of the HYROX.
Yeah, one thing that I think that we didn't quite realize when we signed up, and also the reason why we planned our training blocks, as we're going to describe in a couple minutes, is because we didn't realize how much running there was. And we don't really like running that much, but we know that it's a really important part of the race and just being an athlete in general. And so that's why we designed the training blocks the way that we did. And we looked for those types of opportunities to get stronger, because without having the HYROX behind it, we would never have picked those on our own.
All right, so the next part of the video, we're going to talk about like how we actually designed the kind of structure for the training. We designed the training around 4 phases. We actually started the program on January 1st. We had been talking about it a few days before, but it just turns out that that's where our scheduling had us. But the 4 phases really were about foundation, building, race prep, and then like a deload week, just to really be in peak performance for May 16th. So the first phase was 6 weeks. That was the foundation phase. So we went from beginning of January till mid-February. That was followed by 8 weeks of a building phase. So that was mid-February, and it will run until mid-April. We'll have 4 weeks of the race prep phase, which will be from mid-April to the beginning of May. And then the first 2 weeks of May will be kind of like a deload phase. So that way we can just kind of recover and be in tip-top shape. Within each of those phases, we are going to have like some more specific goals, but that kind of provides us with the parameters of what we want to focus on. To most maximize the 6 months that we had leading up to the race.
We used the Peloton platform for each of those blocks, and we're going to get into exactly how we did that. But just to give you a bit more background into how we decided to plan out those different phases, like we said before, running was a weakness for both of us. So we knew that that had to be incorporated from the start, and also at a very, very manageable pace and expectation for running. So that played a role in what programs we selected. Another thing that we had to plan around was Ramadan, which is running from mid-February until mid-March. So that is going to be running for a month in the building phase, and that's just something that we had to keep in mind. Thankfully this year, the sunrise and sunset is a pretty manageable time. So my plan is going to be to work out in the evenings after I've had dinner.
And I think for me, actually, I actually have a few weeks where I'm off. So I think within those ones, I might do it later in the evening, but I also might do it kind of like when I wake up to eat. Might plan to have my workout like kind of like pretty early morning, and then I'll have a chance to catch some Z's.
Yeah. We both do work full-time jobs, so Monday to Friday, 8 to 4. And so that's something we also had to keep in mind in terms of our energy levels. Also remembering that this is the long term. So making sure that we're consistent in the gym and giving our effort that we can on that day, but also trying to make sure that we're, eating properly, sleeping well, so that we can still work and perform in the gym.
One of the things I wanted to make sure was in the program was, and I've always done it this way, I usually play hockey on Tuesday nights, and so I don't like to do legs or anything super exhausting on Tuesdays because I want to make sure that my legs are fresh to play that night. And so it helps give you like more of like a realistic parameters beyond just saying, okay, I want to do say 3 days of strength, 2 days of running. You can kind of say which days of the week make more sense to do certain types of activities. So that's really a smart thing to think about in advance as well. It makes it more manageable and more realistic for what works for you.
Yeah, so for example, on the weekends, if you are off, you may have a bit more time to do a longer workout or 2 workouts. Say you want to do like strength and running, but then on a day where maybe you're in the office and you're not in the office every single day, on an office day, you might want to do one shorter, lower energy workout if that is a lot of effort for you to go into the office.
I think it was also thinking about like what access to equipment we have. So I think we both wanted to use the Peloton app, but like at home, I have a set of adjustable dumbbells, I have a spin bike, and then a bit of floor space. And I do have access to a gym. It just takes a little bit more effort to get there. But like, so if I do want to have either access to treadmills or a bit heavier set of weights, then I can go to that gym. But I was trying to do a lot of it where like the excuse wasn't that I had to get out of the house. So that's, I think, what's appealing for me about Peloton too.
In terms of access, for me, I actually have a very, very good access to a full gym. So that includes like all the running machines. I have squat racks, the benches, every single weight I could possibly need. I also have access to machines, the pool, sauna, and other amenities like that. So for the most part, I was trying to focus on, again, things that were the easiest and most accessible. Even though I had access to everything, I wanted to make sure that I was using equipment that, there's not just one of, in case someone else is at the gym and using that equipment. I wanted to just mostly focus on the dumbbells and the bench and the treadmill. And then over the next phase, we'll maybe add in different things. But what's nice is that whether or not I'm traveling or whether or not I'm at my home gym or I'm somewhere else, those are kinds of equipment that is very universal. And so that makes it very easy to not fall behind and say, oh, well, I don't have access to a squat rack anymore, so now I can't do this part of my training. It just allows you to be very consistent and flexible and be able to keep doing the plan no matter where you are. And it can definitely be overwhelming if you're trying to plan all of the blocks, all the workouts. And I feel like you can probably plan your way into doing that for so many hours and days that you don't actually get to the workouts. So instead of us trying to figure out, okay, every single week what we're going to be doing from now until May, we really tried to focus on each block. So the 6 weeks that we were just doing, that we just finished, was one block that we really focus on. And now for the next 8 weeks, when we're in our building phase, we're going to be now looking at that block and not planning out past that. So now let's get into actually using Peloton for the programming and just a little bit about our experience and why we decided to pick Peloton. So I have been part of the Peloton ecosystem, I would say, for about 1.5 years, but I really started using it regularly as of May of last year. So I had been using Peloton for about 6 months before we decided to sign up for HYROX, and I was really, really enjoying the platform. One, because you didn't have to think about what workout you wanted to do, but the coaches that are on that platform are extremely skilled and strong, and they really build great programming. Oftentimes I would find random websites or random workout plans online that were not really all joined together. And so I didn't really have a lot of accountability to finish them or really even do them. So I really liked Peloton for that aspect. When we were looking at the HYROX race, we were looking instead at what are the different programs that exist in there. So it's like one coach and they have a 3-day or a 4-day split, or a program like a running program, and you can follow that day by day, week by week. Another tool that I found really helpful in the Peloton was their scheduling feature. So I liked, again, to see the workout. This is Monday, this is Tuesday, this is Wednesday, this is what you're doing, and then you just show up at the gym and that's what you do. And even if you're feeling like, oh, I'm not really having most energy today, or unless you really feel like you need the break, which is totally fine, you do the workout. And sometimes I feel like I would tell myself, oh, I'm too tired to do this. But then when I get to the gym, I'm still lifting the weight that I lifted the week before. So I'm still being able to maintain that level of strength and fitness. So that was the way that I use Peloton the most. We'll get into which specific programs we picked, but just in general, I loved the ability to schedule and kind of like set it and forget it. It tells you to do that workout, you do that workout, and then build it up that way.
And I think for me, I was really new to Peloton. Like I really wasn't using it very much. I think the occasional like spin ride I would do for fun, but I wasn't using it consistently. And I think going into it, I also, being new to the platform, my sister had been talking about like, oh, they have these splits, they have certain programs, but I was like, well, but like how much do they really know what it is that I want to achieve, and that I can just rely on like that, set it and forget it. So I used their HYROX collection, and I identified a few workouts. So there was like a lower body and an upper body one that I kind of designed for my build for my foundation phase splits, and then I designed like my week more specifically, knowing that like I had selected what it was that I was looking for. That's kind of, and that kind of follows more of like my a traditional like format that I would use, is that like I would pick like certain days are upper body, certain days are lower body, and then plan in the cardio elements around that and around my schedule. I think that both approaches do work. I think now that I've used a little bit more, and I think in the next phase, I am going to get a little bit more into some of the pre-designed split programs now that I have a bit more trust in the system. But I think to what Tayaba said, like I do think that adds to like the accountability to know that like everything is happening within a single ecosystem. I haven't gotten to the point where I'm using this scheduling within Peloton. I'm still using Google Calendar. I find that it works better for me. But yeah, I do think that there's like a really good breadth and depth of workout options or strength options, cardio options within the ecosystem. Yeah, I like the fact that it's very easy to take it with you. I have the ability to program my own routine, but I haven't been doing it, so I was really looking to offload that. Really prior to this, like I have started and stopped the same hockey program a dozen times. I think maybe once I've reached the end of it. And so clearly it wasn't working for me. And this one, I think like we're currently both on like, I think close to 50-day streaks.
So I'm going to get into the actual splits that I picked, and I'm going to show you on the screen on my phone of like what the different programs are. You can definitely go through and see what instructors you might like or what you think might be good for you, or you can even use the HYROX collection. So the programs that I thought were the most valuable for me was one of them's called the You Can Run program. This has a bunch of different instructors. I'm on week 8. I have 2 left, but it's 2 times per week, 20 to 45 minutes per class. There's 5 instructors, and it was so nice and gradual. Each week had a different theme. So the first week was just running and walking. The second week was warm-ups. Third week was cadence. Fourth week was getting an easy pace. Fifth week was form. Sixth week was pace again. Week 7 was intervals, and week 8 is endurance. So it was a really nice way to focus on running and having different goals, especially for someone who doesn't like it. And I don't know if it's like I get bored of it or I just have this mental block that I'm not going to have fun. And so having something to focus on for that 20 minutes or that 30 minutes really made it a lot more enjoyable, I guess you could say. And just based on my heart rate from the different workouts that I've done, I am in a way better range for my heart rate than I was when I first started. Before, when I first was doing running in like January, my heart rate would go like 180 beats per minute, like 160 to 180 on average, which is extremely high for me. And now my average is like 140, 150, somewhere in that range. And I feel that's a huge improvement. And I also feel when I'm running that I feel like I'm in the right position and I'm not like completely like gasping for air. So I really liked that program for the running part of things. From a strength perspective, I did the 4-week program called Total Strength with Andy. And this is because Andy Spear is an instructor that I really, really like. I've done a lot of his classes as one-offs, and I've always found him to be a really, really great instructor. He really gives good cueing. He sounds like he's made for this. So I really, really liked his programming. It was 4 weeks long. 30-minute workouts with a warm-up and a cool down every single time. And it got progressively harder over the 4 weeks. And so those two combined were really my main thing that I was focusing on, and added a couple other like random like programs here and there. But my main focus was figure out how to run and start doing some strength. I knew that in my second block, I would need to have those foundations to actually then like go for it.
I wanted kind of like a design of my program that was a bit more flexible. So I didn't do any, especially for the strength training, like any pre-designed programming, like I mentioned. I went into the HYROX collection for Peloton. I selected one that was a lower body and one that was an upper body. Robin Arzon, legs and glutes, and then a 30-minute upper body strength with Eric Jager, who was like, oh my God, I just love him so much. I think that it's so fun. Some of his workouts are in English, and a lot of them are like in German, but with English subtitles. And I really like subtitles. But what I liked about doing it that way with those strength ones was then if Tayyaba was in town, we were working out together. I actually felt like I had a lot of flexibilities to like if I didn't do that lower body one, and I ended up doing like a total body or whatever that was programmed in her program, it wasn't really messing me up too much. Like especially if I took a look and I said, okay, that one ended up being like more total body, then I could easily swap out the other strength workout I was doing that week with another upper body. I think what was interesting was that, so Tayyaba did the You Can Run, and I did the You Can Run 5K. And I think that one is, it didn't feel as structured for like somebody that's just new to running. So I think I might actually in the next phase go back and do that one. We're close to where we want to be in terms of like going into that next phase, but I think with like we both really recognized from that first phase that like running is still an area that we have a lot just from a foundational perspective to improve on. I think we both realized that like the running is our area where we like we're not coming to it with like a big background in it. So it's the area where we have the most room to grow. And then also I think, yeah, like we're more and more seeing some of those foundational elements are super important. So when she was talking about the fact that like they had something specific for like cadence and for pacing and for like learning the different like key elements of what should be involved in running, that I found that the one that I had done maybe assumed that you had done some of the that introductory you can run program before, but I think like it still met the needs. And what I did like to see was even within that program, within the foundation phase, I was still going from like 20 minutes with shin splints every time to like 20 minutes being able to do it fairly well without too much pain. And then now I'm at 30 minutes that includes some more challenging portions of the run. Yeah, I think overall, like we took slightly different approaches, but we're still within the same goal in mind, and have really been enjoying it. I think that we're able to check on our feed, see what workout she had done. She said, "Oh, you did a different Eric Jager one," because he's like one of my favorite ones, and I think actually Tayyaba's done a few. A German instructor ones.
I like her.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
a couple other things that we realized in this first block of work is that we need to build in a little bit more time for deload. I actually, unfortunately, was injured last week, and so I was forced to take my deload this week. So really, it's been just a lot of like mobility, walking, and just kind of like relaxing, letting my body heal. But I think it's really important. And so when we're designing out the next phase, we'll want to make sure it'll also be during the month of Ramadan. So we know that we may not be able to push as hard, or may be more challenging to really make the time work to the maximum potential. But I think consistency has been something that we've both really gotten out of starting this journey together, which has been fantastic. I think the other thing that we're also trying to keep in mind is that I think we'll both admit it. I've probably come up a few times in this video, but we don't like running. But there's still ways to make I think we still both have the goal of doing well in this HYROX. Our real goal is to finish, but we want to have a good time doing it. So we have a few spectators that are going to come for our event. We've been working on what the outfits that we're going to wear. We want to wear something matching. So like that's been really enjoyable. And then, just kind of checking in with each other about how each of us is doing. I think it's good to have an accountability partner. And I think kind of going back to like why we both like sports in the first place, like I've always enjoyed kind of like more of the team dynamic. Watching the Olympics right now has also been pretty motivating as well. And so, yeah, I'm just looking for ways to like stay consistent. But yeah, I think by the fact that we broke it down into these like more manageable chunks has also helped to then, if you do have a setback, to kind of like shake it off, get back into it. You know that you have 3-4 weeks within the block to continue to reach your goals, and then you get something new and fresh and to reassess going into each next phase.
So where do we go from here? We just finished our foundational phase and are now entering the building phase. For the next 8 weeks, I'm planning on doing one split on repeat for the next 8 weeks. Like the same 4 workouts, I'm planning on doing Just Sims split plus run. This is a nice way to kind of have the running and the weights in the same plan, so I don't have to be following 2 different split, and also allows me to ensure that I am running 4 times a week. So the plan is for me to follow that every week for 8 weeks. I'm going to track my weights. I'm going to try to increase my weights or my reps. And I'm not sure what else I'm going to be sprinkling in there, because I probably will want to do some mobility, maybe some cycling, maybe some other just like fun workouts. There's a new instructor, Greta, who does Sculpt Flow, which was really interesting on the Peloton app. So I also wanted to have a bit of that flexibility that Fatima was talking about, of if I do my, I have my workout plan, but I want to do something else or I want to try something different, it's not so rigid. And I have 8 weeks. It doesn't mean I have to finish this split 8 times. If I finish it 6 times and I have time for some other exercises, great. The point is consistency and running on a regular basis as well as keeping up with the strength training.
And for myself, so I'm keeping the same kind of like days of the week. So like two strength days, like 3 run days, one kind of cardio fun day, and a rest day in there. And I have mobility throughout. I actually chose 2 60-minute workouts with Logan Aldridge. I think they're both also from the HYROX collection. My goal is, I think, going from 30 minutes of strength twice a week to 60 minutes twice a week is a fairly substantial like increase. I'm thinking actually for maybe it will be kind of like outside of the context of this 6-month training, but I actually like the idea of the splits actually did appeal to me to some degree. I went and I found Eric Jager. He has 3 different splits. So I signed up for all of them. And so I'll see kind of like, I'll take a look at the moves inside each of them. I was actually exploring within the Peloton app, and you can see what the activities are. Makes sense. But I think, yeah, like we're both learning that there's elements of the way that she has approached Peloton and the way that I've approached it for our HYROX training. They both work. They both have their advantages, and then you just kind of got to tailor it to what works for you.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's getting us in the gym, it's getting us consistent, we're lifting weights, we're trying to lift as heavy as we can, we're doing the thing, and we're putting in the work. And like Fatima said, the goal is to finish, but we don't want to be either regretting that we didn't work to our full potential, or that we're so exhausted that we're completely worn out. We want to feel good going into it and feel good coming out of it and just know that we did our best. So that's really been the motivation for this whole thing.
Yeah. One thing that I think we should think about during this phase, but definitely going into the next training block, is we want to make sure that we're comfortable with the HYROX rules, how to do the movements, how to, I think like the one word that I'm hearing a lot of is like this compromised running. So it's kind of like going from having your strength and your cardio, but spread out throughout the week, to really having it be integrated within each other. So that might be something that we think about for the next phase, but definitely like the movements, making sure that we understand the format of the event. I think it really fits well within the race prep block. It's not a bad idea to also think about it earlier on. That way when you're training and say some of these movements do come up, especially as I'm selected from the HYROX collection, when you're doing a burpee, when you're doing some lunges, making sure that like some of the technical elements, you're not neglecting them. So that way it's easier to make sure that it's like you're not having to change your form. It's like you were doing the right form all along. And then you're just kind of like looking to make marginal improvements.
So that's it from us. Let us know if you have any other questions or anything else you wanted us to talk about. We will be planning another video where we'll talk more about our progress and hopefully a couple of sneak peeks when we do get out onto the race floor. But if you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below.
Bye! Bye!